Welcome back. Suffice to say, when I saw the title that our news team gave today's video, Staff Think Bungie's Management Are Cutting and Running, my interest was piqued. And I've got to imagine yours is as well. So here's what's happened. With the first of 3 live streams, Bungie have revealed their Into the Light content. That is basically what will lead Destiny 2 into the final shape, which is the final expansion in its current arc. Content-wise, things actually seem kind of good, with a long-requested gameplay mode being added to the game, the promise of 2 more streams as well to showcase even more stuff. So that seems good, but people have been talking. People have been talking to IGN. Sources are alleging that rumbly things are going on, that staff do not feel sure about what is next, and the implication is that management are about to cut and run as soon as they are able. Very much, of course, unlike us, with the assist from today's sponsor. And I really do mean it, they literally pay the bills, no Lambos, no bullshit. Boot.dev, here's the deal. Their mission is to teach you back-end web development, which is an amazing skill, using Python and Go, which are fantastic things to learn. And I mean, hey, this is a field where like your average back-end dev's getting 100 grand in the US, and like with really good perks, like, you know, working from home and all that stuff. BootDev itself has got quests, levels, achievements, like RPG elements itself, and you can get 25% off your first purchase by using my link and code, which is Bellular News. Now, their approach is very pragmatic, it's very wise, and that's because it comes from pros in the field, and it's designed to teach you the fundamentals right through to the sorts of things you will actually be doing in a real back-end development job. And they're always adding new content. As an example, they have a new course on shells and terminals, which is actually really fun. I mean, here's their description of that. Quote, acting as a cyber forensic investigator inside the file system of a megacorp World Bank. So yeah, if you want to, you know, fling up terminal and start doing some Mr. Robot shit, that's actually what that module was designed for, which I thought was really cool. Anyway, now you can check them out today at boot.dev/Bellular News, where your first purchase will be 25% off if you use my code, and that's backed by their no questions asked 30-day money-back guarantee, and they got free demos of all their courses. So cheers, Boot. Let's roll with the video. Okay, so Bungie are doing these 3 live streams to showcase what Into the Light is going to be. This is the stuff leading us into the final shape, which is scheduled for June. And so far, to be honest, what they've shown on the game side is kind of cool. There's a mode called Onslaught, which basically is a wave-based PvE mode. And certainly when I think about, you know, Firefight in Halo, you know, that thing Bungie used to do, it does kind of make sense. Now, what happens here is fire teams defend a single point on a Crucible map with a tower defense style option for placing defenses and things across the area, which, to be honest, I actually think sounds pretty damn cool. It's got multiple difficulties from a 10 wave mode to a 50 wave mode with rotating defense points. And seemingly, there's quite a lot of design, like, being put into this. Players are being asked to do, like, mini objectives across, you know, across the map in the middle of matches and things like that. There are mini boss encounters and other things going on, so it doesn't look like it's some sort of half-assed effort. That's all well and good, but what do you get from it, you know, other than like fun and playing a video game? Well, we don't know. The rewards are going to be properly detailed in next week's stream. It is weapons though, but then the 3rd stream will talk about the other content that will be in this event. Now, this is all running from April 9th through to the final shape, and we don't actually know if this mode is going to be sticking around after the event. So overall, it does seem pretty decent. It's essentially another thing to do to tide us over until that expansion comes out. I mean, more gameplay stuff is never really a bad thing, even though this, yes, is definitely filling out some space where the final shape, obviously, should have been out. It should have been out already because it was initially scheduled for February. As for the final shape, it's looming rather large, and really for Destiny, it does seem like a do-or-die moment. I mean, we've all heard the previous reporting that they are 45% below what their revenue estimates were. And that's kind of an old number, but I mean, it's not like the news has got any better for Destiny 2, so yeah, I would be kind of worried. Anyway, we know the whole point of Final Shape is that it will start a new cadence of releases for the game. Bungie say they're going to be kind of breaking out of their shackles, right? A new format that'll be more sustainable, and all of these good things. But what about the management? Because really, As much as all these game details are interesting, I think people are more existentially worried about what's going on. To move on to what's next, it's supposed to be Marathon, basically resurrecting a old FPS for the Apple Macintosh. Marathon's actually really cool, and I'd recommend that you check out the Mandalore gaming videos on Marathon. Just going through the lore and stuff like that, it's really interesting. Now, the original Marathon is actually on Steam. Yeah, it's been dropped on Steam, so you can actually play that if you want. If it feels a bit impenetrable, again, I would recommend you check out the Mandalore video. I mean, even just for like a little bit of interesting lore and some gaming history, it's a good way to pass some time. Anyway, this is going to be a very different take on Marathon because it's going to be a player-driven extraction shooter, and that's what Bungie are spending a lot of time on with a big old dedicated team. Now, the threat of reporting from IGN appears to have actually forced Bungie's leadership to admit recently that things are changing up on that development team. So here's what's happened. The now ex-Valorant game director, Joe Ziegler, has announced himself as having been in that role for 9 months. Now, he replaced a very long-time Bungie vet called Christopher Barrett, who now seems to be the executive creative director at Bungie. So that's all fairly interesting. I suppose he was just secretly there for 9 months. And honestly, here things get a little bit strange. So it actually seems that what happened is that IGN reached out, right? As you're going to do if you're doing a report, you reach out for comment. It seems that them doing that actually prompted this to happen. The fun update for the last 9 months, I've been working on Marathon. And that is actually kind of interesting because Paul Tassi then pointed out, I'll just read his tweet, one thing that makes the timeline bizarre here is if Ziegler is saying he had been Marathon game director for 9 months, Barrett would have left quite literally weeks after the reveal where he was heavily featured to debut the game, which really is some mighty bizarre timing. So good insight from Paul. Obviously, he does follow Destiny pretty closely. Now, to go back to IGN, they also heard that things have been a bit strange with Marathon, and I'll just do a quote from them. While this is going on, sources tell IGN that Bungie is pouring resources into getting Marathon out the door. The game's direction has shifted somewhat under Ziegler's new leadership, one source says, moving away from custom player characters in favor of a selectable cast of heroes. Yes, this seemingly is going to be a hero-based selection for an extraction shooter. I mean, there you go. We're just mixing all the modern things together. Lovely. But of course, this is happening in a genre like the extraction shooter that's often quite heavily dependent on the ongoing customization of your character via loot. That does make this really quite strange. But I suppose for the sake of Bungie, maybe they're going to want to try to make, these characters be heroes so they can perhaps sell things like cosmetics. Dare I say, skins for the heroes. In the same way the likes of Call of Duty went from being, military dudes to operators. And that was obviously a very heavy part of their microtransaction loop. Quite the situation, isn't it? Now, going back to the stuff, it's been thought that there's been other projects at development over in Bungie, but the existence of those has not actually been really clear. And this is where IGN gets interesting because they have the scoop. Project Matter is a game that was framed as a new IP from the company, and it was being developed on a long-term basis. And IGN are reporting now that Matter was killed in 2020 before the Sony acquisition, but that there was continued exploration of the project in sort of different styles until late 2022, which of course is after the acquisition. Then we've got Project Gummy Bears. This was weird because it was revealed to the public via job listings as a sort of incubation project in August 2023. That's obviously not that long ago. I'll just do a little quote here. One of our favorite incubation projects is a team-based action game inspired by several genres in a brand new science fantasy universe. It draws inspiration from fighting games, platformers, MOBAs, life sims, and frog-type games wrapped up in a lighthearted comedic world. So there you go. It would have been another bold entry into the frog-type game genre. I mean, hey, you got frog fractions to beat, good luck. Anyway, it does seem that this project is, as IGN put it, currently in a holding pattern after the layoffs and the general struggles that the studio has faced. And this does leave Bungie in a pretty damn curious position because they've got Destiny. It's on the verge of a real do-or-die massive expansion that's got so much riding on it, especially after they've had pretty low revenue compared to what they expected. As much as there can be a lot of sort of doom watching and, we can get the popcorn out for things like this, I do want to make it very clear, and there's plenty of times in the past that I've really enjoyed Destiny 2. In fact, after Skill Up doing some coverage of stuff before Lightfall, I was really interested because it seemed everything about Witch Queen just said, hey, they have got this worked out. It's awesome, which is why, why their most recent expansion was really quite the bummer. So this is a do or die thing. I absolutely hope that this is the expansion the Destiny players want and deserve, but with all of this chaos swirling around, a lot of the bizarre decisions, it's kind of hard to tell. Anyway, there's Destiny, there's the incubation projects, which do seem to be more in a holding pattern, and that means that everything falls on Marathon, like quadruply so, if Final Shape, I'm not even going to say if it doesn't do well. I'm going to say that if Final Shape is just a mediocre success, given where Destiny is now, I have to imagine that'll be a failure because, well, come on, we've been covering what Sony are like on the financial side for ages now. You've got the likes of Insomniac Games who are just, they're putting out straight bangers. And I know that not everybody loves all of their games, but just by the sales numbers, Insomniac have been doing serious work, and they have still been getting job cuts. I mean, if the absolute rock stars of the group are getting job cuts, and Bungie is expensive and a bit of a shit show, man, you'd be kind of worried. And that is something that seems to be happening with Staff. As IGN sources suggest, even if they do manage to do well, there is seemingly no plan for the future. Here again is a quote from their reporting. While upcoming Destiny 2 expansion, The Final Shape, is also being prioritized, there are growing fears and rumors that layoffs will immediately follow its release. Wonderful. Oh my god. One person with knowledge of budgets at Bungie told me that, quote, nothing adds up, and, quote, something will need to happen to curb costs unless The Final Shape does so well to cover the gap and people can move to Marathon. So that seems screwed. And as much as, as people who follow the industry, we're talking about this, can you imagine like this being the tone and the mood at your day job? And you coming into work and this is what the news is? And you're worried about leadership? And well, that's probably my segue to talking about the leadership. So, there's only so many Ghostbusters or Mass Effect crossover packs that you can sell to people to eke out more revenue. And I gotta be real, man, those Mass Effect skins really did look good. But yes, here you go. You can call the Ghostbusters. You can do that, if you want a little optional purchase opportunity within Destiny 2. So that was just revealed. I'm sure that will get them out of their financial hole immediately. Anyway, this is really all leading me into the most damning part of IGN's reporting. So, Bungie's leadership know that they are on notice from PlayStation. And in fairness, if you know and I know that they've been put on notice from PlayStation, I'm not really surprised that they know. But we've seen this be very clearly stated to investors by Sony. The Sony dude, he literally said that some managers need to manage their budgets better. They need to be more disciplined on how they're spending money. And that kind of thing, which, it was all done in a very polite way that was trying to respect the creativity of Staff, but it's the sort of thing, if you're reading in between the lines, it is absolutely daggers and knives and horrible pokey things going at the management. And, well, if you're that management, are you just going to check out, take some money, and then leave and go to another ship? Now, I return to IGN's report. Within the company, there is growing expectation that senior leadership will leave in droves in the summer of 2026, when the final payouts from Sony's acquisition of the company take effect. With this in mind, there is a strong push to get Marathon out the door before then, and let whoever takes the reins after that, be it Sony or Bungie, worry about how it is sustained. I mean, this is really amazing. It seems to not really be aligned with players. It doesn't seem to be aligned with shareholder value. It really doesn't seem to be aligned with anything, which really doesn't sound like the best way to do things. Anyway, they've decided that the short-term sprints, post-launch layoffs, and generally short-term planning is the way to go. This is not a company with a 10-year plan. This is a company trying to work out how can we crawl our way quarter to quarter, half to half, year to year, and basically survive until we go and cash out our final big yummy payments. Because if they are going to cash those out in 2026, all they have to do is reach that point. That is the incentive of management, right? And that's not going to be good. That is not going to be good whatsoever for the staff, because the staff, they're not going to have that incentive, are they? And that might, indeed, folks, give them an incentive to leave. Oh, wait, we live in hell. The games markets kind of went So, it's honestly really rough, and I mean, goddamn, man. Destiny players, you guys have been through a lot, and, you know, you deserve good stuff, and Destiny deserves good stuff. Sad thing, even in Destiny 1, you know, when Destiny 1, like, its lore and all of that stuff, it was a shit show, you had the Dinklebot and all those weird things, there were still the people who saw the art direction, saw the gunplay, actually enjoyed that stuff. They even they looked up the codexes that they could unlock on the Bungie website, and they actually saw really cool lore. All the lore speculation people, and, well, you know, they got veiled for the last year, so rip them. But still, the point is, just about everybody here deserves better. Maybe with the exception of Bungie's leadership. I mean, Sony probably deserve better, the players probably deserve better as well, and the staff deserve better. Yeah, I mean, Sony went and got these, you know, supposed absolute live service geniuses, and they only went and did not Beyond Light. Lightfall! The shit one. The expansion that was very weird that just came out. Anyway, that is it for today's video. We're going over this report from IGN. Of course, excellent reporting. This is tying into just thematically so much of what's going on in the industry right now. Okay, in terms of things, we have had so many absolute banger videos going on. There's really interesting stuff with Overwatch 2. You can check out that video. It's already live. And I believe tomorrow we're going to be diving into Diablo 4 because, like, the PC Gamer headline for, like, their summary was basically, they've killed Diablo 4 to make it again. Yeah, it was pretty aggro. It caught my interest. We'll get into that. Till then, though, thank you for watching. If you want to help us support the show, you know, pay the bills, you can check out today's sponsor, that link down below. And with that, I'll see you tomorrow.